Hello, this is Alex Ramsey, host of Night of the Batman, with one of my favorite episodes, Two-Face. Now, I'll be doing this one a little different than the other ones, since it's a two-part episode. I thought it'd be fitting. I'm going to do a double review, reviewing both parts in a long episode. So, I hope you enjoy. Now, before I get started with the summary, I'd just like to give you my brief thoughts of this episode. As you can already tell, I really like this episode. This episode, if you watch the Crusader series, has also influenced me a lot. It's influenced other artists and writers, too, of Batman. And a lot of people have followed after this sort of thing of making Harvey have mental issues before he turned into Two-Face, which is how I got the idea for the Crusader series. This is a big inspiration, as you'll see as I go through this review. And also, it's a great episode. It's tragic because for a while before this, we had got to know Harvey, and it's not like they just first introduced him here. He was actually a meaningful character that we cared about, and it was kind of depressing to see him get turned into Two-Face. But it was also kind of cool to see his dark side. And, this episode I look to whenever I'm trying to portray Harvey, because I want to bring that sort of duality, like that he has a dark side, but he's also a good person too, and he's always wrestling with that. So, let me get on to the summary. Okay, the summary, I'll start with part one. It starts out with them doing a bust on these criminals, like they're trying to get them to come out, and there's this big scuffle, and then they finally get him. Harvey's there. Harvey's one of the main people. He gets one of Rupert Thorne's men, and one of the guys kicks mud on him, and we first see signs that like he flips out on him, and he says to Jimmy, it's like he's a different person. And we continue to see signs like this later on through the episode. Later on, we find out that Harvey's seeing a shrink, and they also have nightmares, too, about his other half, and we get some backstory, too, about when he was a kid and how he was bullied and everything, and how messed up his childhood was, which is also another influence. Okay, for part one, let me just first start out with the good. Okay, part one. Number one of the pros is that, number one, the story. The story is great. Seeing Harvey start out like basically like the good guy and then slowly make his descent into madness and wrestle with this other side we haven't seen yet was very entertaining, and it's also very sad at the end of that part one when we see that the side he's been fighting is physically manifested by his burnt face from the explosion when he was chasing after Rupert Thorne. This also affects Bruce, which is another good thing about this episode, is that it affects everyone. Since Bruce was his friend, he feels guilty about it. I think that helps the story. And I could go on and on with this, but then we'd never finish this review. There's so much good in it. The giving him mental issues before, and just seeing a character that we care for descend to madness. I really can't think of any cons, so I guess I'll just skip over that part. I can't really think of anything for the cons. Again, this show really influenced me, like with the Harvey and Bruce being friends. Really influenced me when I was thinking of it when I made the Crusader series. And also I looked to this as a guide for just like the whole duality thing, like I said earlier. You can obviously see that if you've seen some of the episodes. And yeah, this is just a great episode. It's one of my favorites, and it's a great part of it. It's very tragic, though. You end up feeling very sorry for Harvey because he was this great symbol, similar to the Dark Knight, and then he just, towards the end, due to that explosion, it finally tore the last bit of sanity and the last bit of fight out of him, and he became the tragic character we now know as Two-Face. Yeah, and yeah, I guess if I were to rate part 1 on my 5-point rating system, I would give it I think this is the first time this has happened, a 5 out of 5. That's how good it is. It's great. The art, the story, the tragicness of all of it, and just everything works together to make a great part 1, and part 2 is even better. So, this is part 1 of the review, and next we'll be going on to part 2. I hope you enjoyed this, and this is just one of my favorites again. This is great. This is a big influence on me with the Crusader series, and let's get to part 2. Hello, this is Alex Ramsey, host of Night of the Batman, with part 2 of my review of Two-Face. Okay, so part 2. Let me start off again with another summary. Okay, so it opens where the last one left off, with Harvey's fiancée fainting in the hospital after seeing his scarred face. And it picks up from there, where he has started a life of crime after that incident. And Batman has frequent nightmares, now blaming himself for what happened to Harvey. And later on in the episode, it's revealed that she actually wants to see him, that she feels bad for fainting, and that Harvey feels the same, but leaves up to a flip of a coin, starting to develop that. The thing he developed earlier was flipping a coin to decide things. And actually, I take that back. He actually did that in the very first episode where he was flipping coins. But anyway, and the Rupert Thorne's henchmen take advantage of that and pose as police, and actually end up getting Harvey caught in a trap, which ends in Harvey nearly killing Rupert Thorne, and Bruce trying to rehabilitate him at the end with Bruce throwing up a bunch of coins, similar to the Batman Forever movie where Batman threw a bunch of coins at this time. It freaks out Harvey Two-Face, just like in the other movie, and his wife gets back with him, and it ends on a surprisingly hopeful note where it seems like they might get back together and things might go back to normal. Of course, they don't, but it's still a good note to go out on. I like that about it. Again, another great part to this 2-part episode. Let me start with the pros. Okay, first off, seeing Harvey do all these things involving with Two, like he does in comics, like robbing the Two National Bank and stuff like that, is really cool. That's right out of the comics, and it gives it more legitimacy. And also, just Bruce blaming himself makes it more realistic, and that whole dream sequence is one of my favorite parts of this episode. It's just amazing, and also very tragic and sad. And also the hopeful note I mentioned earlier, that they finish on a hopeful note in such a dark and depressing episode is good, even if it doesn't turn out the way that the episode implies at the end. It's still good. There's so many good things about this episode. The art, the story, everything. That if I sat here and talked about it, we'd be here for a long, long, long time. But there are bunches of good things, like the crime spree, and also that I forgot to mention this earlier. Sorry. He's getting revenge on Rupert Thorne for making his face like that by robbing all the banks that he has money in. So that's why Rupert Thorne goes after them and tries to capture them later. And the fact that, just like in the comics, Harvey Dent is basically broken down and his mind is so shattered that all he has left to do to make decisions is flip a coin. He can't make decisions for himself anymore because of his mental state and how shattered that accident really made him. Which I think is really handled really well here and represented really well in this episode. And I appreciate that. It's an amazing episode. It's one of my favorites. Probably on my top 10 list. I might make a top 10 list down the road a little bit. After I'm done with this series and move on to another one, I might do other ones. Who knows? But anyway, back to the episode. Yeah, it's great. And, again, I can't think of any cons. That's how good the episode is. It's one of those rare ones it's just built like the perfect episode, these are, I meant to say so, but these are one of the episodes that Batman the Animated Series is remembered for, and that make it such a great cartoon. Even more than that, such a great series. So much more adult than some of the films, and just great overall, and what we remember it for being an amazingly good drama. One of the greatest superhero shows, one of the greatest cartoons, in my opinion, ever made. And this episode proves it. I think if the award for best episode hadn't gone to one of the other ones in the series, Heart of Ice, it would have easily gone to this one, because this one is on par with, if not on the same level as that episode, which I will get to when I review it. Yeah, this is an amazing episode. Both these parts put together are great. Both of them resolve greatly. Both of them great art, great story, great everything. It's so adult in such a kid series. It's amazing what the creators of this show were able to do. They were able to take the limitations that they had in the 90s and the standards and practices, basically handcuffing them, and they were still able to make such an amazing show with so many restrictions on them. And that just speaks volumes for this show. They're able to make a show like this, and how amazing it is, and how watching it years later it still holds up, and it's still a great episode. I enjoy it very much. And I could talk about this episode, like I said before, forever. It's an inspiration to me. It helped me to come. It obviously played a big role in the Crusader series. It's basically my Harvey Dent. I'd like to think is sort of like the one in this show, and will one day become the one, sort of like the one in this show. And also, just how well this episode is made, just how well thought out and how well paced this episode is. I can't think of any slow points in this. It moves very quickly, and it's just an amazing episode. And I enjoy it very much. I recommend, if you haven't seen this yet, to watch it. If you're a big Two-Face fan, I suggest you watch it, because you'd love it. If you're just a Batman fan, watch it. Heck, if you're just wanting to start out on the series and you're not sure which one to start out on this one. This one's a great episode. This one will get you right in. This one is amazingly good. If not very tragic. It's on the level of, I heard some other reviewers say it's on the level of Shakespeare, and he's absolutely right. This is amazing writing, an amazingly flawed, tragic character. It's just an amazing episode, and I recommend it to anyone whether you're interested in Batman or not, you need to watch this. It's great. And as you can see, I enjoy it thoroughly. And it's just awesome. So, again, 5 out of 5. It deserves it. Perfect story, great art, great pacing. There was never a slow moment in that. A tragic character, tragic story that ends on a hopeful note. And overall, just an amazingly good story. I recommend this to anybody. It's great. If you haven't watched it, I suggest you watch it again. It's amazingly good. And I hope you enjoyed this double review. If you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, comment. If you want me to review something else Batman related, I would love to. Just leave it either in the comments or message me on YouTube. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll be up with the next review as soon as possible. So long.